No, Your Honor, the state would rest.
All right, Mr. Finkel, witnesses from you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Beatrice Bernal.
Thank you. Mr. Finkel, you may proceed.
Thank you. Would you state your name for the record, please, and how you're associated with this case?
My name is Beatrice Bernal, and I'm Antonio's fiance.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You're what?
I'm Antonio Soto's fiance.
Okay.
Fiance? Did you say fiance?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
How long have you known Antonio Soto?
I've known him for 2-3 years.
Okay. And do you also know Elsa Smith?
Yes, but not like friend, just as his baby's mother.
The time that you've known Mr. Soto, have you ever experienced or seen him engage in any sort of domestic violence?
No.
Have you ever seen him interact with Elsa Smith?
No, all I know is that Miss Elsa Smith will come to our apartment, like stalking us.
Judge, I'm
chasing
gonna
us.
object to your second.
I'm gonna, I'm not even sure I can actually rule on that objection because I can't understand her. I don't know if you can, Ms. Gaddis. I can't understand a word you're saying. I don't know if you're far from your the receiver, if you can speak louder and more clearly, but I cannot understand anything. So you're going to need to repeat what you said, and then I can keep in mind, Ms. Swallow, that your objection is hearsay. So, but I don't know what she said.
Can y'all hear me better?
Yes, a little.
A little.
Yes. Okay.
Could
Sorry, I'm
Mr.
using my
Finkel
phone.
repeat the question? Because I'm
Yes,
not sure she's even answering the question.
Yeah, Mr. Finkel, restate your question, please.
Okay, I believe I asked Ms. Bernal, have you had the opportunity to see Mr. Soto and Mr. Smith or Ms. Smith interact with each other?
No.
Have you ever had any interactions with Ms. Smith?
No, other than me calling the police on her, that's it.
Why would you call the police on her?
Because she did damages to my car.
Judge, calls for speculation, hearsay. I mean, if her testimony is that she has not had any interactions with Ms. Smith, then if that's the case, then I don't know what else it's non-responsive.
She's testifying as to why she called the police on Ms. Smith.
But that's not an interaction with Ms. Smith.
It's a different question.
It was a different question. So I'll overrule your objection and you can follow up if you have any questions about her response, Ms. Swallow. I think I've heard the response. Mr. Finkel, you want to continue?
So, Ms. Bernal, have you called the police on more than one occasion?
Yes.
And that's been regarding Ms. Smith, and is that correct?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
What other reasons have you called the police on Ms. Smith?
Just for damages, her coming to the apartment, knocking on my door, like, I don't know, but the police had to escort her out. We also caused scenes in my apartment complex where she wouldn't let us leave. Yeah, that's about it.
What do you mean
She would
would
follow.
What do you mean she would let you leave?
Judge, I'm going to
Like,
object
she
to
wouldn't leave.
relevance. I don't know what this witness's allegations of hearsay against Ms. Smith have to do with why we're here today.
Mr. Finkel, what is the relevance of Ms. Smith's conduct at this point if her parental rights have already been terminated?
Your Honor, is to show that that she is in fact the violent one in this relationship, and that she has it out basically for Mr. Soto and is doing all she.
Well, I'm gonna sustain her objection. I don't think that this testimony supports that theory, and I don't think it's relevant. So let's move on to another
Ms.
topic.
Bernal, have you seen, but between the two, have you ever seen Mr. Soto be violent towards Ms. Smith?
Asked and answered.
No,
And I'll
I mean,
sustain
yes,
that objection.
him, no.
Okay, I just want to point out that Ms. Bernal previously indicated she'd never seen them together. So now she's indicating that she's seen them be violent with each other. So it's inconsistent testimony at this point.
No.
I believe she said that she has not had interactions with him. My previous question was, has Mr. Soto been violent towards her?
No. Wait, like,
And
he
then-
was, I just know that she was violent with him, like bullying him.
Gosh, non-responsive, objection.
I'm sustained. That's sustained. Let's move on. Another question, Mr. Finkel. I mean, I don't feel like Ms. Bernal is answering any of your questions, and I don't know if it's because she can't hear but
I'm not sure what the confusion is, because I'm understanding her answers to my questions. I don't know if y'all can't hear me, or my first
I
question.
can hear you just fine. Her answers are not responsive to the questions you're asking. But, and so we will start over, and you may ask your next question, Mr. Finkel.
Okay. Well, then to clarify, Ms. Bernal, has Mr. Soto ever been violent towards you?
No.
Have you seen Mr. Soto ever be violent towards Ms. Smith?
Asked and
No,
answered.
because I just know like the text messages, that's all.
Okay.
My question.
Just a second. We cannot talk over each other. All right. And that's part of the problem here. I'm sustaining Ms. Swallow's objection. It was asked and answered previously, and she said no. I heard that earlier. So let's move on.
Okay. Have you seen Mr. Soto interact with any of his children?
Yes.
And can you describe those interactions?
He does good. We'll do like little play dates at the park. He always took them out to eat, bought them their shoes, did little stuff for his birthday. He was always good with his kids.
In the 2.5 years that you've known him, have you ever seen him be violent or be inappropriate with any of his children?
No.
Do you think that Mr. Soto is a good father to his children?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Levi, any questions for Ms. Bernal?
How long does Mr. Soto stay with his children when you see these interactions?
The weekend, I know over the summer, like we'll have him like 2-3 days, and I know at his mom's house, and we'll go visit them, like see them over there.
Okay, let me pause you.
with
Let me pause you and see if I can get some clarification. Do they spend the night at your house?
They did.
How many nights has Mr. Soto's children resided with him that you're aware of?
I'm not sure. Like, I know it'll just be like here and there on the weekends.
Is he the primary parent for any of his children?
Primary, I'm not sure of. Like, they don't live with him.
Are
But
you aware of Mr. Soto's methamphetamine addiction?
Now I'm aware of, but during the time, no.
Are you aware how long Mr. Soto is in jail for?
Yes, 6 years.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Swallow, any questions for Ms. Bernal?
Thank you. Ms. Bernal, do you have any children with Mr. Soto?
No.
Are you pregnant?
No.
Are you planning on having children with Mr. Soto?
Yes.
When do you plan on getting married?
Well, right now we did do the common law. Just I know I have to do something else.
And you met Mr. Soto 2 to 3 years ago?
Yes, as friends. We barely took the relationship serious in December, January of last year.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Anything else for Ms. Bernal?
No,
Your next witness, Mr. Van Gogh?
would be Mr. Antonio Soto. Your Honor, I'm sorry, before I called Mr. Soto, I wanted to call his mother, Rosita Morales, if she's on the phone, or if she's on the
The
meeting.
only person I see is Rosie Barrientos. Is that who you're talking about?
I know her as Rosita Morales. I'm not sure. It's Mr. Soto's mother.
This is his mother, Rosita Morales.
Okay, all right. Can you turn your video on, or do you have access to the?
How do I do that?
How do we do that? It's my daughter's
Here, let's
computer.
see. See if you see a prompt. Yes, there you go.
And what is your relationship to this case?
Antonio Soto's my son. Autumn's my granddaughter.
And where do you currently reside?
I live in Texas,
Okay, in a house or an apartment?
in a house, yes, sir.
And who lives in that house with you?
My husband and my son.
And who is your husband and who is your son?
My husband, Antonio Soto, and my son.
Okay. Have you ever been approached or your husband been approached by anybody from the department to study you for possible placement of Autumn?
Not me, my husband.
Okay. Was it your, were you told that you needed to move out of the house for your husband to be studied?
Yes.
And were you told why?
Yes, because I gave the children back, the girls back to Elsa, Miss Smith.
And there was testimony that the reason you did that was because you were afraid of Miss Smith and Mr. Soto. Is that accurate?
Yes. Well, not my son, Mrs. Smith herself, because she had been making some allegations and threats towards me because of her separation with Antonio or what have you. I don't know what the reason was, but yeah. Yes, sir.
So your fear was of Miss Smith?
Yes, sir.
Now, if the children were to be placed with you and your husband, was it your understanding that you can't let Miss Smith or Mr. Soto have access to the children?
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't let Elsa see them. I don't know
Okay.
about Antonio. I would have to hear it from the department themselves.
So if the department told you that, or if this court were to tell you that that your son could not have access to Autumn, you would not let him have access?
I would comply, and he himself would comply. He would have understanding to that.
Okay. And what about your fears of any harm or retaliation by either him or Miss Smith?
It would be different now because at that time when I gave her the children, she still had rights to her children, you see. So, I mean, I had no right, just they told me not to get or not to release the children to her. But when she came in, it was like aggressive. You know, I came for my girls. I mean, and like I said, I had other grandchildren here at my house.
Have you seen your son be aggressive or violent towards you or anybody else?
We have arguments, but not aggressive. And we have misunderstandings.
Have you seen any occasions of physical violence?
No.
If you could, do you have the space and the abilities to financial and physical, to care for Autumn.
Very much. Yes, sir.
Now, you're aware that Autumn has a half sister, correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
Would you be willing to take both girls?
Oh, yes, in a heartbeat.
Okay, did you relay that to the department?
I'm sorry?
Did you tell that to the department?
Yes, yes.
Okay. As far as your son is concerned, he does not live there, does he?
Antonio? No. No.
Does your other son have any criminal background?
No, no.
Okay. Have you seen your son Antonio interact with his children?
Oh, yes, yes.
And how would you describe the interactions with his children?
They have a very good relationship. Very good. I mean, but some of them are, they say that as soon as they're at age, they're gonna come live with their dad.
Have you ever seen Antonio mistreat his children?
He disciplines them. I'm not gonna say that I haven't seen him discipline, but beat them, no.
Have you seen interactions between Antonio and Miss Smith?
Yes.
Have you ever seen him be violent towards her?
They used to have strong vocal arguments, cussing and, saying ugly things to each other. Miss Elsa pushed him on several occasions, and in front of me, no. She would push him in front of me, and I would ask her not to do it, because I didn't want Antonio to hit her. I mean, I would strike back.
Okay, but have you ever seen him hit
No.
her violence on his? You mentioned that the department was looking at your husband as far as placement. Have you ever indicated to the department that you wanted to be studied for placement?
Yes, I did.
And was that recently, or has that been when the case first started, or when?
No, since day one that I found out that Autumn was removed from Miss Smith. I called Miss Juarez, and I spoke to Miss Vanessa afterwards, and I've spoken to Miss Gonzalez, several people in the department I've called.
Okay, and in fact, you've called me, correct?
Yes, you several times, yes.
What was their response to you requesting to be studied?
They just kept giving me the runaround as no, you're not, you don't qualify, until I finally asked Miss Vanessa last week that I needed her to tell me straight out what was the reason. And I said, because I haven't committed any crimes that I know of. I haven't committed any crimes. She said, and she called me yesterday, and she finally said that it was because I had given the children back to Elsa that day, that I was not supposed to give her the children. But like I said, she still had rights over her children. I mean.
Okay, so are you saying that are you saying that the first time that you were told as to the reason why you would not qualify was yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they never
Yes,
talked to you about?
No, they never told me. They never gave me a straight answer. Never. Until I told Miss Vanessa, I'm not gonna quit until you give me a straight answer as to why I can't take my granddaughter in or the girls in. I've always told her the girls, the two little girls, not just my granddaughter, not just Autumn, because I see Miss Amelia as my granddaughter.
And you have a relationship with her as well?
Yeah, we did. Yes, when I picked her up that day that the police had her, she opened her arms right away and just came to me, just crying. Yes.
Okay. And is that, in fact, what you want to happen? I mean, is that
Very
what
much?
do you,
Yes.
what do you want to see
Yes.
happen with the girls?
I want them to be with a family member, which is me and my husband. That's my husband's granddaughter, and he only has very few relatives here, which are his two kids and his grandchildren.
And you feel like if they were placed with you, you could protect them if you were told to do
Very
so?
much so. Very much so. I would have a lot of help from my other daughters. So yes.
Now, there's been testimony about Antonio's admitted drug use. Are you aware of his drug use?
Yes.
Do you recognize when he's using, or have you seen him when he's using?
Oh no, he would not dare do that in front of me. I've seen him, I mean, he's my son. I can tell the difference when he comes in. But usually he's happy when he comes in. He's never violent. He's always playing around and joking around. So I don't know what kind of drugs he uses, but.
Okay, but it's your testimony that you don't approve of that.
I don't approve of it. No, I don't approve of it at all.
Do you think that despite Antonio being incarcerated, that that he could still be a good father to Autumn and even to Amelia?
Oh yes.
And are you and your husband willing to take on the girls until that were to happen, or until they're 18, if that's necessary?
Oh yes.
Is there anything else that you would like this court to know to help this court make a decision today?
Not really. I mean, all I want is for the girls to be with us. I feel that they need to be with family. The people they're with, I mean, I don't know. They're not relatives. They're not family. They're not blood related. They're just family to the stepfather, I think, to Mrs. Smith. I don't know, but I think they would be better off 100% here and they can interact with their siblings, especially Autumn. The kids miss Autumn a lot. They keep asking me if they're gonna come home, because they know that Mrs. Smith is incarcerated right now. So they feel like, okay, Daddy and Miss Smith are both incarcerated. What's going on with Autumn? Why is she not here with us?
And let me ask you this: what does your husband do for a living?
He's a construction worker, cement finisher.
Okay. And do you work outside the home, or have you worked outside the home?
I have worked outside the home. I'm not retired.
What kind of work did you do?
I did housekeeping.
Okay, so finances wouldn't be a concern with them.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Levi, do you have questions? Ms.
Yes,
Morales?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Morales, your children were actually removed from your care by the department. Is that correct?
Yes.
And an investigation was done into you for abuse and neglect.
So they said that. No, it never happened.
And did your testimony today that the number of times you talked to Ms. Juarez, she never mentioned that that was also a factor into why the children couldn't be placed with you?
I don't think so. Maybe she did. I can't remember. I can't really remember.
Now, you testified that you don't believe that your son is violent. Is that true?
Antonio's not violent.
Okay,
I've seen him upset when people make him upset.
Listen to my question.
Okay.
You just said Antonio is not violent. He's been arrested for family violence 3 times. Is that accurate?
I don't know.
Okay.
I never knew that he was.
You don't know that he was arrested twice in 2012 and once in 2018 for family violence?
No.
You don't know that he's in jail for 6 years right now, in part for possession of a firearm by a felon?
Yes, he told me that. He himself told me that. It
Okay,
happened just
and
right at my house, behind my house.
him with a firearm, despite being told by law enforcement not to possess a firearm, that's not a concern to you in terms of levels of violence?
Yes, it's a concern to me. Anybody who carries a gun.
Okay, have you seen your son's social media, his Facebook?
No. Well, I saw one because I'm not his friend. So when his picture pops up, yes. And I've talked to him about that.
And you've seen the photos of him with firearms on social media?
Yes.
Okay, but your testimony today is that he's a good dad, he's a safe dad, and he's not a violent person.
No, he's not a violent person. I mean,
I'll
I've seen
pass
other
on.
children.
Objection non-responsive.
Sustain.
Okay,
Do you have other questions?
No, Your Honor, I'll pass.
Ms. Swallow?
No questions.
All right. All right. Any additional questions for Ms. Morales? Mr. Finkel?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Morales, for your testimony. You may call your next witness, Mr. Finkel. Would that be Mr. Soto?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sir, would you state your full name and your relationship to the case, please?
Antonio Soto, and I'm Autumn's father.
All right, Mr. Soto, you know why we're here today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where are you currently, I guess, residing?
In a Lopez unit in Edinburgh, Texas.
And how long do you anticipate being there?
I signed on 6, but it's non-ag, hopefully another year or two.
When you say you signed on it, what does that mean?
My whole sentence, my whole term is 6 years, but as you know, you could get off parole on good behavior and everything, which I'm doing. So I'm thinking a year to 2.
Okay, so
And it's my first time ever being in prison. They take all that into consideration.
so you entered into a plea bargain?
Basically, yes.
And you saw the judgments that were entered into evidence, correct?
Oh, yes, sir.
Are those the only 2 cases that you are in custody for?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other pending criminal matters?
No, sir.
Have you been arrested before for any type of domestic violence?
Yes, in 2012. I don't remember 2018, but in 2012, and that woman is supposed to be here too to speak on my behalf. I don't know if she is yet. My baby's mom.
What happened with those cases or that case?
I was 17 years old. I had just got out of TYC, and me and her were both in a physical argument, plain and simple.
Okay. How old are you now?
I'm 27 now.
Now, there was testimony, and you're aware that you were ordered to do certain services in this case, correct?
Yes, but a lot of that, like the first one with Amelia.
Objection
Either way-
non-responsive.
Yes.
Sustain. You rephrase your question, and Mr. Soto, just listen carefully to the question that's asked and answer that question, all right?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Finkel, you may continue.
Let me ask you this. When this case was started, what was your involvement?
I was the reason why. With which one? With Autumn or with Amelia? Because with Autumn, I had nothing to do with it.
With
Autumn,
Autumn.
then I don't know. To this day, I still don't know what my involvement is.
Now, there was testimony that caseworkers tried to talk with you at the beginning of this case and during their investigation. Were you aware of that?
No, I had talked to one caseworker, one investigator named Colleen West, and she did her investigation and all that, and she closed the case. But as of the one with Autumn, no. To this day, again, nobody's contacted me about her.
Were you aware of services that the department wanted you to do?
Yes.
Were you able to complete any of those services?
Just the psychiatric evaluation and then the OSER with the Camino Real. That's it. I never got to do any physical classes because they had me on a waiting list and just everything was going on at once. And then I got incarcerated, so I only did 3 of them.
Okay, what were you on a waiting list for?
For parenting, which again, it was a waiting list, and the substance abuse.
Since you've been in custody, have you been able to do anything?
When I was in another unit, yes, I was already doing substance, and now that I'm here, they only have parenting here. I got to get in contact with Huntsville to get transferred so I could do my substance abuse. Different units have different programs.
And you said you're in a parenting class now, or you completed it, or what?
Oh, no, I haven't completed. I haven't even started yet. I just barely got the enrollment packet. That's the only thing they offer here. I put in for both, but they only offer parenting here.
What do you want to see happen with Autumn today?
To go back with one of my family members, one of my sisters that's already had to have Amelia or my mom. I really wanted to go back to my mom and dad because I know they could raise her good. That they're financially stable. They raised 12 other kids. Like, they could do it.
Now, you mentioned that you might be up for parole soon. Is that true?
Yes, sir. In April, I come up for parole.
Are you willing to continue to do services?
Yes, sir. Yes. Even when I get out, I'm willing to continue doing services.
There's been talk about your drug use. What? When was the last time that you used anything, any illegal substance?
Back in May. So it's already going to be a whole year.
Were you working prior to your incarceration?
Yes, sir. I was working at Amazon.
And how long were you there?
Going on, I guess, 9 months.
Okay. Did you have any issues with your employment, either drug related or work related? Any write-ups or anything?
Oh no, sir. I loved it. It was a good job.
As far as domestic violence is concerned, or physical violence between you and Miss Smith, what do you have to say about that?
It was just one of those relationships that I try to get out of to better myself, and she wouldn't let it happen. She felt like I owed her. Yeah,
So what does
really
it
all
mean?
I can say. Yeah, that's really all I can say, because none of the physical thing happened. Everything she's saying, there's no proof. There's nothing. We have multiple police reports inside San Antonio of her stalking me, of her fighting, of her shooting my car. Like, there's proof there, but with me, I don't even see a police report. I haven't seen me be charged to her. We're waiting on charges for her as we speak. She didn't just hurt me and my girlfriend, my fiance. She's hurt other people during these altercations.
Non-responsive.
So really, that's all I can say. Like,
Let's
me and her text.
go on to the next question, Mr. Thankful.
Okay. The department is seeking to have your parental rights terminated to Autumn. Can you tell this court why this court should not terminate your rights?
Yeah, because I'm a good dad. I paid child support for my other kids. Before this case, while this case was happening, I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but I had 2 of my other kids in custody fighting for them with my other baby's mom. And I had them for 7 months. They went to school. I'm more than capable of taking care of my kids. They went to school every morning. There was never not a meal on the table. Always clothes, always shoes. And I was doing that. I literally physically worked every day for that. I'm a good provider. The only bad thing about me is I do drugs, which I know that's the issue. I've been doing drugs my whole life practically, since I've been diagnosed with ADHD. So I know that's a problem, but that's literally the only problem I have.
Did you ever use drugs in front of your kids, or while physically caring for your kids?
Oh no, never. I wouldn't need to. Like, my kids kill that void of being alone, I guess.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell this court today?
That I just hope they give me a chance so I could prove to them. I still got, technically it's a whole year until they close the case. I don't know why they're trying to close it so fast. It hasn't even been April yet. They let Elsa go more than a year for Amelia. Why can't I keep fighting for her? I'm a good person. I could show you, I could prove to you. I need a chance. And I've been trying to. It's just the drugs. That's all it is, the drugs.
All right, thank you. I'll pass this.
Right, Ms. Levi, do you have questions for Mr. Soto?
Yes, Mr. Soto, you also had an open warrant for injury to a child. Is that correct?
Yes, but that case I got dropped. And again, it was with the kid that I had custody of, so you could figure out where that was coming from. I never got convicted. I never got indicted. I never. Only thing
Objection,
would happen was
non-responsive.
Sustained.
Now, you just testified that your last drug use was in May. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember taking a drug test at the end of July?
I think so, but when I did do it, it was a hair follicle. It wasn't, and they said that goes back months prior.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained. Just answer the question that's being asked, okay?
Yeah.
So why was that July hair strand positive?
I do not know, maybe because it was still in my system.
Why didn't you submit to any drug tests after that if you were clean?
I got incarcerated right after. I've been incarcerated since August the 3rd, July, August.
Okay. So now your testimony here today is that you need more time, but do you recall when Amelia was being removed, both the investigator and the caseworker offering you services at that time?
No, they had told me that even if I do services, since Amelia wasn't mine, technically I had to not even be around Elsa for Elsa to get Amelia back. And Beth said that. Beth said that no matter what, even if it is,
Objection, non-responsive.
then no cases.
Objection, non-responsive.
All right. You can ask your next question then.
So when Ms. Vanderbilt testified that she told you explicitly that they would help you get set up with substance abuse, she was lying to this court.
I guess so.
And when Ms. Juarez testified that when she told you that they would set up services and help you get clean, she was lying to this court.
No, me and Juarez did talk. We talked in person at my house. And again, she even said if I did those classes, it still wouldn't mean I'm getting my kid back. I'm getting Amelia back.
Okay,
So
my question was, she told you, she did not tell you that she would help you get into drug treatment.
Yes, she did. And I told her I didn't want it.
So really, if Ms. Juarez told you she would help you with drug treatment, you've also had over a year of the department trying to get you into drug treatment.
Yeah, and at the time, Amelia
Objection,
was not
non-responsive.
Okay, then I just wasn't ready. Then at the time, I just wasn't ready.
Okay, so is it true that the only thing that's changed, the only reason you're ready now is because you're in jail?
No, it's because I'm willing to take my daughter away, my flesh and blood daughter away. Through that, her mom gave her up. That's why I'm doing this.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Swallow, any questions for Mr. Soto?
No questions.
All right. Mr. Soto, I just have a question. I want to verify it for my records. I have that you appeared at one hearing in this case early on. Do you recall how many hearings you attended in this case?
Yes, just one, and then the other 2 or 3, nobody really bothered to get in contact with me. And then in that hearing too, I wanted to bring up, they asked for 3 supervised visits, and then I could see Autumn and kid share.
Okay, and that's not my question, Mr. Soto. My question is, and I wanted to verify that you've been to one hearing in this case. That's what I have in my records. And is that what you verified for me?
Just one, including this one too, but yes.
So this would be 2, the second time you come to court.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Finkel, any additional witnesses you wish to call?
No, Your Honor, rest.
All right. Ms. Swallow, do you have any witnesses of your own?
No, Judge, thank you.
All right, so if everyone rests and closes at this time, do you each wish to present closing argument? Ms. Levi?
Yes, Your Honor, the department is asking that the court terminate Mr. Soto's parental rights under D, E, O in P ground. There have been several violent altercations. There's a history of criminal activity. He's facing 6 years in prison. Case law is clear that not being able to be present can present an endangerment to the child. By his own admission, he's been using substances through the first case and into the second. He says he stopped early on, but I would posit to this court that the only reason he stopped is that he's incarcerated. By his own admission, he did not complete the service plan. I would also posit that not completing the service plan also endangers the children because he's admitted that he has a lifelong history of mental health and substance abuse issues. We would also ask for the P ground, as Mr. Soto has not completed a substance abuse treatment program as required by the service plan. I do believe it's in the best interest of Autumn. She's with her sister. She is bonded in the placement she's in. And Mr. Soto has not done anything to rectify the extensive concerns that go back several years. And that's our request.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, first of all, I don't think it's necessarily fair, and I think it's prejudicial that the department keeps referring back to the prior case of Amelia. Mr. Soto was not part of that case, as he was not the father. But since then, while he does have an extensive history of admitted drug use, he has been clean by his testimony since May, or hasn't used since May of last year. It's not that he did not want to attend. He was on a waiting list. He did the OSAR evaluation. He was on a waiting list and wasn't able to get into treatment prior to his incarceration. Since his incarceration, he has tried to do whatever he can do. We'd also ask that he be given more time. As he testified to, he's been admonished that that he has up to a year to show the department and this court that he can make changes, and that your time frame is not until I believe April of this year. He is eligible for parole, but in the meantime, he does have a family that can care for this child as well as Amelia, so that the children can stay together. We'd ask that his parental rights not be terminated, that some other less restrictive result be ordered, such as possibly a joint managing conservatorship with the department, to where he can get out and complete the services, because as he said, he wasn't ready for treatment before. However, now he has, and whether that be because of incarceration or because the department took custody of Autumn, doesn't really matter. What matters is that he's ready to make the change, and he has been working on that since his incarceration in August, at the minimum. And so we ask that, again, that you not terminate his parental rights, and that you place the child with his family or both children, and that you give him the opportunity to better himself and be involved in his daughter's life. Thank you.
Ms. Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. As the children's attorney or the child's attorney and guardian ad litem, I'm aligned with the state on this. I think that this parent is present here today because he is incarcerated. He's been absent and inconsistent throughout the entire case, and the companion case is relevant to this case. He was a named party. The child in that case was given his last name. The parents were together at the time. He was a key component to the reasons for removal. The turmoil between these parents and the consistent drug use of methamphetamines and the exposure to violence that these children have experienced it's very sad and sickening to me how easily it is for individuals to diminish that, just to ignore the importance of giving a child a safe and stable drug-free home. That's not something, every child deserves that. And that's why we're here today. And reuniting this child with her father, who is incarcerated at this time, absolutely makes no sense. Nothing has changed except for the fact that he's in jail. That's it. That's absolutely it. And I do not find the testimony of his fiance or his mother very compelling at all. Actually, I find it even more concerning. I concur with the department that his rights need to be terminated. I agree with all the grounds that the department has stated today and pled in their pleadings. I advocate that placement continue where the child is currently placed with her sister. I would request that the orders reflect that the girls are not to be separated. And additionally, that they are not to be moved absent an emergency or further order of this court. With that being said, if Mr. Soto is contending that the department has ignored all efforts to explore his family, I would request that this court give a certain time frame following the rendering of the orders today, and which to look into how, whatever relatives he says, out of all fairness to him, I believe that the girls need to know family too. However, no one has come forward in this case, and the people that have, they don't seem to really understand the issues, or they're lying. So, but I think we need to vet that out, and I'd like to see it all on paper if there are in fact individuals that could be appropriate for these girls, because there's nothing better than children who are loved by as many people as possible, right? Healthy people, good people.
Thank you, Ms. Swallow. Thank you all. At this time, based on the testimony the court has heard today, in conjunction with my review of the exhibits that have been introduced into evidence, as well as the contents of the court's file, the court at this time does find that sufficient evidence, clear and convincing evidence, has been presented to show and demonstrate that Mr. Antonio Soto Jr. has engaged in conduct or knowingly placed the child with persons who engaged in conduct which endangers the physical or emotional well-being of the child pursuant to section 161.001B1E of the Texas Family Code, and that he failed to comply with the provisions of a court order that specifically established the actions necessary for the father to obtain the return of the child, who has been in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department for not less than 9 months as a result of the child's removal from the parent under Chapter 262 for the abuse or neglect of the child pursuant to section 161.001B10 of the Texas Family Code, and that he used a controlled substance as defined by Chapter 481 of the Health and Safety Code in a manner that endangered the health or safety of the child and failed to complete a court-ordered substance abuse treatment program, or after completion of a court-ordered substance abuse treatment program, continued to abuse a controlled substance pursuant to section 161.001B1P of the Texas Family Code. The court further finds by clear and convincing evidence the termination of the parent-child relationship that exists between Antonio Soto Jr. and the child, Autumn Soto, is in the best interest of the child. The court also finds that the current placement of the child is meeting her needs in all aspects, and that continuation of that placement is in her best interest. Court finds by a preponderance of the evidence that the appointment of the department as permanent managing conservator is in the child's best interest as well. The court at this time is ordering that these that Autumn and her sister Amelia are not to be moved from the present placement, absent emergency and the agreement of the remaining parties to this suit, or that the matter be brought before the court for the court's review and consideration. Court will allow Mr. Soto to provide the names of, I would say, one person who has the best option of passing the necessary checks and being considered for placement within the next 2 weeks. And I will say I have concerns about Ms. Morales myself based on the testimony that she provided today. If she has history that has included having her children removed from her care, that is an issue that would be very concerning to this court, and her minimization of Mr. Soto's actions also is extremely concerning to this court as well. So I would ask that other names be offered for this court's consideration, but I want to also make it clear that this court had the opportunity to look into relatives if Mr. Soto had been more participatory in the court process this entire case. By his own testimony, he had participated in one hearing, and after that point in time, failed to engage in this court process until today, even though he had court-appointed counsel from the very beginning of this case to assist and advocate on his behalf. In the meantime, the parties who were participating in this case advocated for a placement in which allowed for them to be placed together. That placement has been meeting their needs. They've been bonding to that placement. They're doing well in that placement. And this court does not only consider relatives as the only measure for what's in a child's best interest for placement considerations. The fact that they have developed a bond and are doing well in that placement is very critical for this court's consideration as well. And so at this point in time, I would be hard pressed to say or to make any, give any indication that moving the children would be considered to be in their best interest this late in the game. But I am open to having a fallback option for a relative for Mr. Soto that would pass not just a preliminary, but a full home study as some sort of backup in the event something were to happen and the current placement would not be available. But I just want to make it clear, it's very unrealistic to come to this court for the second time in this entire case and demand the children be moved somewhere when you've not taken the time to invest or ask or see what they need between the initial time you've been in court and today's date. In fact, I find it highly problematic. So I make these orders as I find them to be in the best interest of the child. I'll also say for the record that in reaching my decision today, took into account the credibility of the various witnesses, and I do find the credibility of the witnesses provided on behalf of Mr. Soto lacking and in relevant and relative weight. I will also let you know that I'm appreciative of your services, Mr. Finkel. On behalf of Mr. Soto, I will dismiss you from that appointment at this time with thanks for the work you've done on his behalf through not just for this trial, but throughout the case. And I will continue you, Ms. Swallow, as Autumn's attorney until we've achieved permanency for her in this matter. And we will come back to review her her status and how she is doing on April the 20th at 10 a.m. for a permanency review after final order.